picture me last year. It's been 10 years since the end of the Bleach anime, it's been 6 years since the manga finished giving us that great final arc, browsing my PC, sipping tea, maybe, and bam! This fucking trailer pops up out of nowhere! That's right, it's Bleach. I'm talking like the show's just aired or something. It came out in October, but I wanted to wait. You know, save that sweet flavour all in one go, and yeah, I basically binged the whole thing in one sitting. So let's review it. I was gutted the OG anime cancelled before they decided to finish the final arc of the show. It was easily one of the more memorable arcs in the manga, and there were some insane revelations and matchups that I was dying to see animated on screen. Taito Kubo's illustrations have always been incredible, with full-page, single-panel drawings showing the best poses, fights, and dialogue, and that was even more so for this final arc. Here we return to Ichigo and the main gang as thousands of hollows have been disappearing, followed by a swift and deadly invasion into Soul Society. In the 1,000-year Blood War, we're introduced to a returning enemy of centuries past who bring devastating destruction before them. The story is at least over 6 years old by now, but nevertheless, this is going to be spoiler-free talks, because hey, that's who I am. First and foremost, it's probably best to know that this is essentially a part one-er. It's 13 episodes long, but it only brings us about halfway through this final arc, and the second half begins airing this June. So if you hate beginning something then having to wait for it to finish, which I definitely get, then you might want to start all of this maybe in September, October time. But this arc has once again been picked up by Studio Pierrot, and they've done, well, everything. But more noticeably, they also did Bleach back in the day too. And they had done a great job of translating it from manga in so many ways, but hit the same problems that all of the big three shonen manga were seemingly facing. Because of it being a continuous weekly release, it was so easy to catch up to the original source material of the manga, which meant having to introduce fillers into the show to space out the two mediums again. And fillers, whilst can mean story and introducing brand new story plots, it can also just be a general sense of dragging out a scene. This ties into another problem with weekly releases as well. It's that there's such a heavy deadline to adhere to that animators need to cut corners in order to meet these deadlines. So the Bleach anime was slowly becoming a case of long standoffs with drawn out dialogue, and an absence of attention to detail and fight scenes was becoming more and more apparent. And thankfully, with all this time apart, Studio Pierrot has come back in full swing with some absolutely stunning artwork and colour. Take any frame and it looks like a direct translation from the artwork of the manga, plus with the addition of these intense use of colours in each frame, it made to look each frame that much more stunning and really made this arc worth waiting for. With it only being 13 episodes long as well, they've done well not to deviate from the original story in ways that are unnecessary, but yet somehow also balancing that fine line of giving us more airtime on some of our favourite moments from the story. A true fan service gesture. Also, to my surprise, it's great to see they haven't censored out any of the blood or decapitations from the manga either. So it looks beautiful and there's no filler, straight to the point. But when stepping back into the bigger picture, there were still areas of improvement that I would have loved to seen a bit more of. Frame by frame was perfect, but when trying to show off fluid action moments in some of the fights, I felt there was a little more to be desired. I say this in a general sense because without a doubt there are 2 or 3 fights in here which were done incredibly, and one of them being arguably the best Bleach fight to be animated. So there's some really good, if not amazing moments to witness here, but the show in areas surrounding it still suffered from that over-exposition mid-battle, which was grinding a lot of these fights to a halt, and needless exposition too. Think Suicide Squad levels of awkward.
I would advise not getting killed by her. Her sword traps the souls of its victims.
Some of my favourite moments in the manga, not to spoil any scenes, but one particularly involving Byakuya Kuchiki early on, I felt tonally was drawn and voiced amazingly, but because of the amount of pausing mid-fight to talk, it never felt like a fluid battle. Bleach was also well known for its incredible soundtrack, and that's 100% still the same here. Old classics we love have been remixed and modified to be familiar, yet draw on new hype or dread depending on what the scene is demanding. I mean, Ichigo's theme is so hype. And also, just a shout out to the episode titles and how they animated those at the start of each episode. Really dug that too. Most of the OG voice actors are back. I've only seen this in subtitled, and they voice their parts amazingly. Clips I've seen of the English dub seem great too, although there seems to be an absence of a couple of the key voice actors. One in question that didn't return was the voice actor for Kenpachi Zaraki, which was a real shame. This is unfortunately a show that would be difficult to jump into without having seen anything else Bleach related. You'll just miss out on a lot of the cool mechanics behind the universe and have no clue who any of the characters are. But for any fans of Bleach of the past, this will be an absolute must watch for you guys. I suppose this is more a question of, do you wait for part 2 to come out first before binging the entire thing? I'm hoping some of the pacing will be fixed going forward now that we've got most of the fundamental expositions out the way, but even if we just get a few more nuggets of gold, such as, well, one of the episodes involving the head captain, then I'm hella excited for part 2 to arrive in June. Weirdly enough, if you're in the UK, this is on Disney Plus, which feels a bit like a weird combination, but it's also a shame because Disney Plus's subtitles are pretty awful sometimes. There's a handful of lines that just straight up not translated, and they also just use a shit font. But aside that, I'm psyched. Never thought we'd see this show get animated again, and honestly the results are just incredible to look at. Have you already seen it? If so, I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe and all that, and as always, stay tuned for more reviews on movies, anime and video games. Until next time guys, take care, bye bye.